Hi all, I welcome you to this session on Power BI projects. So without wasting any time, let's move on straight to our agenda for today. We are going to have a small introduction segment where I'm going to talk a little bit about Power BI and what it does, along with a step-by-step guide on how to install Power BI desktop onto your systems. Then we are going to move on to our case study to design, create, publish, and share an end-to-end sales dashboard based on some mock-up data that is going to give you a fairly good idea on how things work in Power BI and how you can incorporate scrollers, bookmarks, filters, and conditional formatting into your dashboard to make it more live and comprehensive, while also being able to drill down and get insights on your data. With that, I come to the end of my agenda. So without much ado, let's get started. So what exactly is Power BI? Now, Power BI in the least is a business analytics solution or a business intelligence solution that lets you visualize your data and share insights across the board with your organization. It also lets you embed your visuals in an app or website. You can connect to hundreds of data sources and bring your data to life with live dashboards and reports using Power BI. This helps you see your data in new ways, make informed decisions quickly, connect, model, and then explore your data with visual reports that you can collaborate, publish, and share. Power BI will also help you integrate with other tools, including Microsoft Excel, so that you can get up to speed quickly and work seamlessly with your existing solutions. Now that you know what it is, let's go ahead and do some data analytics. But before we do that, there is a prerequisite that we have to fulfill. We have to install the Power BI desktop on our system. So here is what your downloads page looks like for Microsoft Power BI. To get a free trial version, you can go ahead and click the button in yellow which says try free. You'll be getting a prompt where you'll be asked to enter your official email address in the given field. Enter your official email address or your student address and click on the sign in button. That will take you to the Microsoft website. Here you can read the installation steps, software and hardware requirements. Click on the download button to download Power BI Desktop from this location, and the process will begin. Now to install Power BI Desktop, please navigate your system to the Power BI software that we just downloaded. For most of you, it's going to appear in the downloads bar below. You can right-click and run that .exe file. Once you do so, you shall be greeted with an installation wizard. You can enter the language that you understand, check the box which says I accept the terms in the license agreement, go on clicking next till you reach the final setup wizard, which has the option of install. Click on install, and now you're all set to use the Power BI desktop on your Windows system. Now that you have the Power BI desktop on your system, we can go ahead and start with our projects. As I mentioned in the agenda, our first project or first case study is an end-to-end sales dashboard. In this case, what we are going to do is that we're going to explore the internal sales data set of a mock company and analyze it from the perspective of business. We are going to look into different products, employees, and supervisors to determine their individual impact and overall impact on the revenue of the entire company. And for that to happen, we are going to design and create a sales dashboard in Power BI, which we can publish and share on Power BI service. There are a couple of actionable items that you can see in front of you. We are going to tackle each of these actionable items one by one. So let's move on to our demo machine. So this is how Power BI Desktop looks like. This is the latest version as of the March of 2020. Before we begin, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get data. This is an Excel spreadsheet, so I'm just going to get it real quick. Okay. Now, as you can see, this data set has three different tables. We have the employee master, which has the employee ID, employee names, and the supervisor under which the employee functions. Then we have the product master, and this has the product ID, product name, and the price per unit. And we have the sales data. Now this looks more like a fact table, which has the date, the employee that made the sale, the item sold, and the number of units sold. And these are all of our tables. Now, if you are happy with your data and you think it is a usable data model on which you can directly go and build up and lay your analytics on top of, you can click on load. But I'm going to transform this data and clean it up a little bit before I start using it. This is going to take some time. Now, what this does is it opens up your data in something known as a Power Query Editor. Now, one of the reasons why Power BI is such a powerful tool is because it has the query editor where you can navigate, define, and perform data transformation operations over a data source. You get the option of transforming your data on the query editor whenever you connect to a data source. You can create a new query or load an existing query. It's completely your choice. It's basically this dedicated window which facilitates and displays your data connections and your transformations that you're going to apply to that data set, the data set with which you started, all the way to the data set which you have reached here in the applied steps section. So let's go ahead. So the only change that I want to make is in product master. Here I'm going to change the data type of this particular column to fixed decimal number. Basically, I'm asking Power BI to consider this column of values as prices. Yes. And here in the applied steps, as you can see, it automatically added a step called changed type. And I think everything else is just fine according to me. So I'm just going to close and apply. This is going to take a while. Kindly be patient. It's going to take some time and it's finally done. And here on the right, you can see all of your fields and their sub fields when you click on the drop down icon. So starting out, people who are new to this is your canvas or your report view. Here is where you're going to be creating your reports in Power BI. The next is your data view. Now, this is the view where you can look at your data. All right. You can also make edits to your data using any of these ribbons available to you and the options in them. You can click on separate tables and view them individually. And finally, you have your relationship view. Here you can see various tables are connected to each other. How are they related to each other? As we all have seen before, we have three tables, two of which are dimension tables, which are your employee master and your product master. And one of them is a fact table, which is your sales data table. Now, in our case, Power BI has already established a connection because it's smart enough to do that. It just identified common columns between our tables and made relationships through them. But just in case Power BI could not do that in certain cases, we do not have common names in two tables. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to delete this relationship. Yeah, you can easily do so yourself by long pressing on the column name in one table and dropping it down to the column where you want to fuse it to the other table. And voila, You have a connection there. You have a relationship established. Now, what you need to understand is that once you've connected two tables together, in our case, three tables, with a relationship, you can work with the data in both tables as if they were a single table, which frees you from having to worry about relationship details or flattening different tables into a single table before importing them. In many situations, as in ours, Power BI automatically creates these relationships. And as I spoke about it before, I cannot emphasize enough that while Power BI is actually smart enough to do this for us, if Power BI cannot determine with a high degree of certainty that a relationship between two tables should exist, it does not automatically create this relationship. In that case, as I just showed you a few moments ago, you can create the relationship yourself by dragging your column from one table to another. Now, this has a couple of advantages. Now, because our entire data set is being treated as one table, you can add a column to one table, picking out data from another. Now we've come back to our table view, and what I intend to do here is to create a calculated column in your sales data table. Now the calculated column is going to be for revenue, and it's going to have two different components. One is the units sold, which is available in this very table, and the other one is the price per unit, which is available in the product masters table. So what we're going to do is we are going to come back to our sales data table, and we're going to use DAX to create this new calculated column. So I'm going to click on this new column, and we're going to name this revenue. And we're going to multiply units sold, and we're going to be using a function here called related, because our other column is not in the same table. It's in a different table, which is a related table. So we're going to be using related and price per unit. And we're going to close the bracket. And with that, we have our new revenue column, and it already comes with its data type changed into a currency based data type. Yes. Now what I'm going to also do is I'm going to change the format of the date into something more usable. So I'm going to use this one just because it's shorter, and that's just how I like it. It's a matter of personal preference, but you could just roll with the format that we had earlier. That's not an issue. So with that, now we are ready to layer some visualizations on top of it. So we are back in our report view. Here is our canvas. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to add a title bar to this entire page, just for the aesthetic purposes. So I'm going to go on to the insert option, and this opens up the entire insert ribbon. The first thing I'm going to put in is a shape. So I'm going to keep this bar black. So I'm going to go into this format shape section, and we're going to change the filled color to black with no transparency, and we are going to change the line color to black as well. Then we're going to go ahead and add a text box. Here I'm going to name it mock sales dashboard, because we are using mock sales data. I'm going to increase the font size to a 24, and then bolden it and change its alignment to center alignment. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the text color to yellow. So I'm going to maintain this color scheme throughout. I'm going to maintain the Power BI standard color scheme, which is yellow and black, and that's what I'm going to follow throughout the course of this video. So I'm going to go on background and I'm going to turn it off. Okay, so this looks better. So let's go back to our presentation and see what all is there on our actionable items list. So we've already cleaned and transformed our raw data, and now it's a usable data model that we can build analytics on top of. Next, we have already established the relationship between tables. Now start the actual actionable items, which is to create filters to drill down upon data. So here we have 3 filters that we have to create. One is by date, one is by product, one is by employee. But I'm going to do one better. I'm also going to be creating a drill down, say, for supervisors. Then we'll build further from that. For the whole selective drill down purpose, I am going to use a slicer. And the first one I'm going to do is for date. So I'm going to just drag the date column from the sales data onto our field here. Okay, let's just resize it. And all right, I'm going to make it slightly smaller. And as you can see, it is a slicer with our start date and end date. And as we slice, we will only be viewing data in between the date range that we have selected. Now this looks kind of really bland here, and it's not really going with the color scheme that we have selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some conditional formatting on this box and try to make it as eye-catching as I can, while adhering to my original aesthetic. So next to this field section, you have this paint roller-like option, which is the formatting section. Here I'm going to go down to the background and I am going to make it yellow. I'm also going to go up to border and like turn it on. I'm going to add a little bit of radius to this just to make the box slightly curve out in the edges. Then I'm going to go to date inputs and keep the font color and background as is. Maybe change the background color to yellow and increase the text size. All right, I'll keep the font family as is. Let's go to general and see if we can do something. I am going to change the outline color. Now change the slider color as well to black. Then keep. So with that, I think I'm done. I have created my first slicer. And by clicking on the date, it also opens up the calendar for that month. So you're sure of what date you're picking. Okay, I'm going to bring it up a little bit. So with that, I think our date slicer is ready. Now I'm going to copy this a couple times so I can create other slicers without having to do so much work. So this is our next slicer. I'm going to remove the date from this field and I'm going to add the product ID into this field. And this is definitely not what I had in mind. So here's this little button, this downward arrow inside the visualization, which has 2 options, which is list and drop down. So I'm going to select drop down. And then I'm going to go to this ellipses sign, which is these 3 dots, and I'm going to add a search bar. So now you can search for your product ID. Similarly, I'm going to copy this. Let's rearrange them so that we can fit another 2 slicers in there. So in the next slicer, I am going to cut out product ID and add product names. We already have a search option, a search field inside these slicers. Now I don't think I can fit in 2 more slicers in there, so I'm just going to resize these a little bit. And as you can see, I have some visual guidelines from Power BI, which are helping me do the job and keep my visualizations aligned. I hope they are the same size. If not, honestly, let's move on. So 2 more. So here I'm going to remove the product name and add the employee name. And our final slicer is going to be a supervisor slicer. I'm just going to move all of these slicers a little bit so I can fit this slicer in here. And by the grace of God, we have all survived. And I can go ahead and add this extra slicer, which was not asked of me, which I went out of my way to add. So now let's go ahead and see what else is asked of us. Now what we have to do is determine the sales by revenue and number of units sold. That's pretty simple. We already have that data in our tables. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a card. Now again, in the fields field, I'm going to drag the revenue column that we have created. And I'm going to go through some formatting to make it match our aesthetic. Go on to data label. For this, we are going to color all the text in yellow, keep my value to 2 decimal places. Also, I'm going to go on to the category label and change the color to yellow and increase the text size by a little. So then it all stands out against the black background that I'm going to be putting right now. Now again, we're just going to go to our border, turn it on and add some radius. So it kind of has a curvature to it. So I'm pretty happy with this card. So I'm just going to copy it to make a card for the units sold as well. So I'm going to cut out revenue and I'm going to drag the units sold to its field. And now we have 2 cards. So next, what do we have to do? So moving on, what we have to do is we have to determine the revenue generated by each employee under each supervisor. So for this, I'm thinking of a visualization which will have a drill down capability. For this, I'm going to create a hierarchy starting from the supervisor and then having the employees under them. You'll get to know what I'm talking about in a while. So for this, I'm going to pick a donut chart. The reason for me picking this donut chart is that I can use this very nicely to create a chart which I can drill down into. It has plenty of space for displaying information inside and out as well. So here in Legend, I am going to put in supervisor on this field, and in values section, I'm going to put in revenue. Also under supervisor, like I said, I want to create a hierarchy. So I'm going to put in the employees under supervisor. And as soon as I do that, you can see this arrow mark has appeared. And as soon as I do that, you can see this double arrow mark appear. So I'm going to click on it and I can see all these different employees and the revenue that they have generated. I can go back up. Here I can drill down, click on drill down, and I can click on this drill down icon, and all I have to do is click on a data point to find out everything about it. So what I'm going to do now is again go to the formatting pane, and I'm going to first change the data colors into something more flattering. We'll keep a yellow, a very dark gray, and a blue. Also want to add a bar or a background color to the title. So I'm going to turn that yellow and align it in the center. I'm also going to increase the text size by a little. Just going to make it 21. This seems okay. And we are going to use Sego, which is the one we've been using throughout. So yeah, that's about it. So now if I want, I could drill down, I could drill up. I can use this drill down button. So now if I select any supervisor, I could get employee-wise data under the supervisor, under said supervisor. So I'm going to drill up. Okay. And as far as I remember, now what we have to do is we have to use a visualization to give us the daily growth in revenue. So for that, I'm going to choose an area chart. Honestly, you could even use the line chart for this. I just prefer the area chart. It's a matter of personal preference. I think it covers space much better and it's way better looking, and you can do a lot more with it data-wise as well. So I'm going to bring date into the axis field here. It automatically turns into a hierarchy of year, quarter, month, and day. But I'm going to click on this drop down arrow and uncheck date hierarchy and select date. And in the values field, I'm going to drop in revenue. So automatically I have a revenue by date. And as you can see, I can control it with the first slicer that we've created. Again, I am going to go ahead and do some conditional formatting in there. Like for example, the data color is in blue, which I'm going to change to a yellow to match the theme of this report. Then the data labels are going to be turned on so you can see the highest and lowest points of the data. I'm going to keep them in dark black and also increase the text size. I'll also be going to the title and changing the font by aligning it to center. The background will be yellow. You know what? Well, let's switch it up this time. We can keep a black background and we'll keep the font in yellow. And we'll bring up the text size to match our donut chart. Okay. Also fix the font to match with the rest. And that's it. You can go ahead and add a radius if you'd like, but I'd like to keep the border invisible. And with that, we have our revenue by date. We can look at all the highest points of our revenue. One is on 23rd of February 2019. A close second is 11th of March 2019. Well, I wonder what happened on those days, but that's just how our data is. So the next thing that we're supposed to do is to diagnose the individual revenue brought by each product. For that, I'm going to create a bar chart. You can select either stacked bar chart or the clustered bar chart. It doesn't really matter as you'll be using only one line of values. So I'm going to put in the product name in axis, and I am going to bring in the revenue for that product. I'm going to change it up. And I'm also going to add the data labels to each of these bars, keep them in dark black. and maybe increase the text size a little bit. Let's keep it at 11. And we're going to color our data also in dark black on our y-axis. And that's about it. We're also going to go ahead and match up the title with the rest of the scene. And with that, I think we are done with this particular visualization. Now this till now, I think, is pretty basic. We can go ahead and filter out our entire data by date. As you can see, we can filter it out by product ID, drilled out by supervisor. If we wanted to see which team performed the best, and then we could also drill down. We could apply multiple drill downs and slicers at the same time. So under supervisor 1, we have employee 1 to 6. And if you want to see, suppose, how employee 4 performed under supervisor 1 between date 1st of January 2019 to maybe 31st of January 2019, you have the total revenue that he generated for the company, the overall number of units sold. You have his revenue by date. As you can see, he made his best sales in the 19th of January 2019, and the number of products that he sold and the revenue generated by each of these products. Let's just reset everything. Now the bottom of the space looks a little empty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a scroller there. So for that, what we have to do is we have to go to the marketplace, which you can access by clicking on this ellipsis sign in your visualizations pane. So I'm going to go to App Source. And this is going to lead me to the visuals marketplace. Here, I'm going to go ahead and search for a scroller. And this is your visualization. I'm going to add it here, and it's going to appear right here at the bottom of your visualizations pane. I'm just going to add that. And let's just bring it to the bottom and resize it. I'm going to bring it here. And in category, we are going to put up, let's say, product ID. And in measures, we are going to put price per unit. And the scroller has begun, but it's not very visible. So we're going to go to Format, turn off the title. So we have the entire space for the scroller. Background is on. We are going to change the text color of the font to yellow. And we're going to change the scroll speed to 1 so that it's slow enough for people to be able to read it. The font size remains the same. And that's about it. With that, we have all the visualizations that we need in this particular canvas or this particular report. Now, what I want to do is I want to insert an image into this mock sales dashboard title bar. And what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to make a button out of it. I'm going to place a bookmark in it so that we can connect this page to the page that follows. Make sense? So I'm gonna go on insert, go to image. Maybe I'll find something in my downloads. So let's resize it. And then we can add it right here at the corner. Looks decent in my opinion. Let's rename the page. Okay, with that we've renamed the page. One final thing I'd like to do is I realize that this is going to bother me till the end of time. So I'm going to go ahead and change the title name so it fits in one line and bring up the size to just going to align it. Okay. So far what you've done is you've imported a data set from Excel to Power BI. You have cleaned and transformed the data to create a data model on which you can layer your analytics on top of. You've created this wonderful report with visualization, slicers, drill down capabilities by date, product, and employee. So you've basically created a complete sales dashboard. What we're going to do next is to create a drill down page. For that, instead of creating a new page, I'm just going to duplicate this page so I do not have to redo the header and the slicers on this page. So I'm going to delete all of these visualizations one by one. And also this image. Here I'm going to put in another button. Here in the insert ribbon, we have the buttons option. And here is the back button option. Let's just bring it here. Let's make it big and clear. Okay. I'm going to make the fill color black and reduce the transparency to 0. And the icon I'm going to turn into yellow. Okay. And I'm going to turn on the button text and name it back. I'm going to change the font color as well. And that's about it. All right, now we have a back button, which definitely works. If I'm going to click on the back button while pressing on to control, it's going to take me to my mock sales dashboard, which is my first dashboard. So let's go to our second dashboard, and firstly, let's rename this. We can't just keep calling it duplicate of sales dashboard. Oh, well, let's just call it drill down dashboard. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a table here, and into that I'm going to enter the date, and as it had happened before, it gives us the entire hierarchy, which we do not want, so we are going to select date. Next we're going to put in employee ID, employee name, maybe I don't want that. We're going to put in supervisor. We're going to put in, let's say, product ID, units sold, and the revenue. Now let's open up our table so as to fill in the entire space. And in the bottom, we also have our total calculated. We're also going to resize the columns so as to fit the entire table. maybe there's space for another column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also put in employee name. So let's reduce the size a little bit so we can have employee name. I'm going to go up to format, go in style. And there are a couple of different styles given here. Right now we're using the default style. Let's try a couple of different styles and see what we like. Okay, this looks good to me, honestly. And let's go to column headers. We're going to change the font color to yellow. Background color is black. Let's increase the text size by a little. Okay, 14 is too much. Let's go with 12. And alignment should be center aligned. I have this compulsive need for things to be aligned properly. Maybe that's just how I've been trained to think. I'm also going to go on values. Okay, seems like they're all right aligned. Then I'm going to go to conditional formatting, and for my revenue column, I'm going to turn on data bars. All right. I'm going to go to advanced controls and change the color to a light yellow. And here I see all the bars and the values on the right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this row. And if you click on this row, it basically gets arranged in a descending order, which is very desirable. And through this, you can maybe select a particular date, or say 1st of January, and pick a certain supervisor, say supervisor 4. And then look at each of these employees and what they have sold and how much revenue have they generated in total. It's great, isn't it? We know that supervisor 4 on date 1st of January has sold 3 different products, product number 1, 21, and 23, and he has sold around 600 units combined and generated a revenue of nearly 32,000. And we only know that through the power of data analytics. Let's just relieve this of all the filters that I've added. So now let's go back and see what else is left to do. Okay, so we've already created a table view of all relevant data for viewing and drill down purposes. Now we have to connect our pages for better user experience and then publish our dashboard to the service. Now, it might seem a little complicated, but I promise you it's extremely easy. To create a bookmark, we have to go to the View ribbon and then go to the Bookmarks option. You'll have a pane opening like so, and it says that I have no bookmarks, so I'm going to click on Add, and I'm going to rename this bookmark to, let's call it DDD, because we have a drill down dashboard. Also, I'm going to go on the ellipses and uncheck data. I'll tell you why I did this, because we want our bookmark to lead us not to this particular page that we have right now. We want the bookmark to lead us to a page which has already been filtered by the filters applied on the previous page. All right, hope I'm making sense. Now we have our bookmark. We're going to go back to our first page. We're going to select this option. And we're going to open the format image where I'm going to go down to action and turn it on. We are going to select action type, which is obviously a bookmark, and select our bookmark. And in the tooltip, which is going to just display a text, if we hover on this icon, we are going to say click to view, drill down. Okay, that seems like it. So now if we hover over this, it says click to view drill down. And if we click on it, it leads us to this page. And just to clear what I was speaking of previously, if I drill this page down per a single product, when I view my drill down, it is supposed to show me. So now that we have everything that we need, let's go ahead and publish this dashboard to the service. So I'm going to go to the home ribbon and click on this publish button right here. And it'll ask me to save my changes. I'll be prompted to save my changes. So I'm going to click on save. And I'm going to save it as Sales Dashboard 101. And I've saved it. And now it's going to take some time to publish it to my workspace on Power BI. It's going to take a few seconds. And it says a success. That's great. We can open this dashboard directly in Power BI. See, it's exactly the same as it was previously. I can click on this and it'll take me to the next page. And I can click back on this. It'll take me to the previous page. And the cross highlighting works just how it used to work on Power BI desktop. See? The filters work exactly the same. We can apply filtering just the way we want, just the way we did in our Power BI desktop. And we can pin the visuals that we want to our dashboard. So we're going to create a new dashboard and call it Sales Dashboard 101 and pin it. Then we're going to, let's say, pin another visual. Let's pin this. And another one. And maybe we can pin this card as well. And you're prompted to go to your dashboard. And here I can go to my dashboard and it has all the visualizations that I've pinned. The card is right here. And click on the card. It'll take me back to my page. Here you can ask any question to your data using natural language. So maybe I can ask about average price per unit, maybe. And you get the average price per unit. You can ask for top 10 products by price. Here you have product ID, name, and price per unit. So you can basically ask any question to your data and Power BI will answer you. And you can also pin different visuals from different reports onto one single dashboard. And you can share your dashboard by clicking here and putting in the email IDs of the recipients that you want to share your data with. With that, let's go back to our main report. If I click on a certain visualization, it's going to take me back to my main report. So here we have our main report. So in this section, we learned how to import data from an Excel sheet. We also developed, designed, and published our report on the Power BI service. We learned how to create slicers, use cards, drill down and drill up using separate visualizations while also maintaining an aesthetic. We also imported a scroller from the marketplace and created a drill down dashboard which we connected via a bookmark button. And with this, I come to the end of my case study. My name is Upasna. Thank you and have a nice day.